Welcome back to Flashpoint. This week in Governor Cooper vetoing new restrictions on abortions. And some doctors, unlike what you just heard before the break, some doctors say this is the right move to protect both the fetus and the mother. Joining us now is Dr. Susan Bain, Medical Director of the Choices Women's Center in Wilson, North Carolina. She is also anti-abortion. Doctor, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, a whole host of medical groups have come out against these restrictions. I'm sure you're aware of that. Nearly 1,500 providers signing a petition against further restrictions. These are some of your colleagues in the medical profession. Why do you think that they're wrong?
This is such a hard and difficult topic, and it is not settled science. When you think about the fact that OBGYN physicians, which I am, take care of both a maternal and a fetal patient, and that we have an ethical obligation to provide great care for both of those patients. There is this controversy that you're actually protecting the woman by ending the life of her very own child. And that's where the disagreement happens. Those of us who practice Hippocratic medicine, we have to avoid intentionally causing harm. And I see both of my patients, and I want exceptional health care for both of them. I think some of my colleagues want exceptional health care for one patient. And I think that's where the difference lies. As a field, it's quite interesting. 76 to 93% of practicing obstetricians and gynecologists don't perform induced abortions. And so that small segment that does has reasons why they believe they should continue to do so. But many of us disagree.
You mentioned two patients. Is there a line which you draw, the line where you don't see it as two patients at a certain point in the pregnancy? Before that, you don't see? For you, in your mind, what is the cutoff based on not only your ethics, but also your training as a doctor?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you look at the embryology textbooks, which are a class all doctors take in medical school, chapter 1, page 1 says human development, it begins at conception. The first 8 weeks of life were called an embryo, then we're called a fetus. At birth, we're a neonate, an infant, toddler, child, teenager, adult, older adult. So this is a continuum of human development. So there's no time that I don't see two patients. So I think that's the simple answer. There's no time. There are always two that I have to keep in mind when I'm taking care of them.
We spoke to another doctor who feels differently than you, and she said that this bill just is not medically sound, that it creates unnecessary hurdles for moms, especially at-risk moms who might not have the best insurance or flexible job required to go to some of these appointments spelled out in the law. She said unnecessary hurdles for some of the doctors. Do you think the provisions spelled out in this bill are based strictly in medicine?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think they're designed for the health and safety of the patients. They're designed to protect women. We want women to be empowered with information. So going to see her physician, her healthcare practitioner, when she's getting ready to make a decision of massive consequence, it's not an everyday decision to either choose to give birth and parent, to give birth and consider adoption, or give permission to a healthcare practitioner to end the very own life of their child. So that is something that women need to be well informed when they make that decision. I work as the medical director at pregnancy centers. Everybody I see has unintended pregnancies, and they are often alone, afraid, feeling coerced, and like they have all these challenges and circumstances in front of them, these barriers. The most common in the literature is socioeconomic barriers, which you mentioned. And so my job is not to make their decision, but my job is to provide an informed consent that empowers them with that information so that they can make a really well-informed decision. So whether that is, they choose to have an abortion, they know that there's no judgment here and they are welcome to come back if they want to talk about things afterwards. But if they are going to choose to give birth, whether that's parenting or through adoption, that we're going to try to connect them with resources. And this bill has so many appropriations that address the challenges I see every day in my practice. Quality, affordable daycare, things like that.
Let me interrupt you just real quick because we're going to run out of time. But don't you think, and maybe I'm just being naive, that what you just explained is what doctors do? It's what make doctors such important people. It's what makes them such highly trained professionals. It's what they do, take care of their patients. Why do you need a state law telling them how to do that?
Well, first of all, I think we need a state law to protect both patients. If we truly believe, and the science supports that fetal patient, that embryo, is a full living human organism. So is there a place in medicine, in the purpose of medicine, for the direct and intentional killing of another human being? Okay, some believe there is. Many don't. As a matter of fact, in North Carolina, most citizens actually polled believe there should be limits. And that's, I think, where the compromise of 12 weeks came from. So I think from the fetal patient, yeah, I would hope that all of my colleagues would give women a thorough, informed consent. But I have women that come back after having abortions, and unfortunately, they aren't given those choices. I've had colleagues, who have said as soon as they got a diagnosis of a life-limiting disability, their child, they were immediately suggested to terminate, and they made this rash, quick decision that they now regret. And so I think there is that partnership between a healthcare professional and the patient is so powerful. That patient has a lived experience, and I don't have that, but I have expertise. So when we partner together, that's what I think best medicine is. And I think the provisions to have those appointments only help women.